Hello, wrestling fans, and welcome to another edition of Talmbout Rasslin, right here on the Black Fitness Network. I am your host, the untouchable J.R. Atkins, and this is your primary destination for wrestling conversation. Welcome back to another edition of Talking About Wrestling, right here on the Black Fitness Network. I have said it once before, and I'll say it again, and we are back on Saturday because we're going to do this by hook or by crook. I told you last week I would be back. Didn't I tell you? Didn't I tell you? And like I said, this week we are going to get caught up on the going-ons of AEW because, of course, we had to cover all the WrestleMania stuff. So now we are back in the saddle on a Saturday talking about AEW as the paid AEW shield that I am. So before we get into that, as always, I have to say thank you to everybody that's tuning in on this lovely Saturday. It'll be afternoon. By the time you see it, it'll be afternoon. This lovely Saturday afternoon. Thank you for tuning in. You could have been anywhere in the world. If you're tuning in after Gracity, because I don't know why you would why it would be a thing, but Gracity's on, and it's gonna be like 3 or 4 hours. So if you're tuning in afterwards, Saturday afternoon, evening, whatever. But thanks for tuning in nonetheless. Thank you to everybody who has taken the time to subscribe to the page here on Substack, subscribe to the page on YouTube, listen on Spotify, wherever you so happen to be hearing my voice. Thank you for tuning in. And again, if you haven't done it yet, make sure that you go and you like, share, subscribe, whether that be on here, Substack, whether that be on YouTube, no matter where you get. If it's Spotify, go do it there too. It's not necessarily like, share, and subscribe, but it kind of is like, share, and subscribe, right? Make sure you leave a rating and a review, all the good things. I need engagement. Engagement is the key. Engagement is the key. I need my Black Phoenix Brigade to be on top of the game. So again, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for all your support thus far. Anybody who's listening, I'm averaging about 15 to 21 listeners per episode, watchers, viewers, whatever, per episode. Would love for that number to go up, which is why I have set the goal of having 50 subscribers total by the end of 2026. Now, right now I'm at like 23, 22, 23, something like that. We can run that number up, and we're almost like into June. Well, it's May. It's going to be May because it is May. So it's May. We got about 7 more months left. So if we can run those numbers up, whatever I got to do to run those numbers up, we're going to run those numbers up. We're going to try to hit that goal. Before we proceed, I have to do the thing because I know what you came to see. It's going to be a little different this time. It's time for the shirt of the day. Boom, we're keeping it simple, but that blue is popping in this light. I'm not even going to hold you. Keeping it real simple. This is the standard Black Phoenix logo tee, one that I have tons of for my performing days. The merch shop is coming. The merch is coming. I already actually have it designed and ready to go. So the merch shop will be coming soon. I should probably put that up soon, but I feel like I should get more people before I launch that, right? Because who am I be marketing that to? So go figure. Nonetheless, thank you for tuning in once again. And again, we are going to catch up on the goings on of AEW since WrestleMania week, because we had to talk WrestleMania, and there's some WWE stuff too, but it's nothing really huge. So we got to get caught up on what's going on in AEW, because as we left, AEW pulled the trigger on a very, I wouldn't even say controversial, because I think generally speaking, depending on who you ask, it's kind of seen as a net positive. There are a few people who kind of just don't agree with that. People who don't like Darby anyway. But Darby Allin is your AEW World Champion. I suspect until Double or Nothing. As I predicted earlier, or like I said earlier, my prediction was that Darby would win it at Double or Nothing from MJF. or at least that would be the main event. I don't even know if I thought he would win. I definitely thought that would be the main event. Looks like we went in a different direction where Darby beat him on Dynamite. I still think that MJF and Darby is the match going into Double or Nothing. And just based off of how Darby's run is going, I believe that MJF probably wins it back at Double or Nothing. But that's neither here nor there. As we're going right now, the run, though, is insane. We can start with Dynamite the week after WrestleMania, actually. Like I said, where we left off, that was actually the last thing from AEW before. Well, no, it wasn't. Because they did have that that Collision, I think, the next day to avoid going against WrestleMania. So the following Dynamite, we kicked off Darby's reign basically with a one-on-one match against Tommaso Ciampa, who had stated his claim that he wanted a title shot as well, and we immediately got to it. So we got a Tommaso Ciampa Darby Allin match that got 5 stars from Dave Meltzer, believe that or not. Wow. I say believe it or not, it's not hard to believe. AEW matches get 5 stars all the time from Dave, so it's not even a big thing. That was a random Dynamite match. And it was a really great match between those two, which is why I say, the run is playing out a certain way, and I think it's playing out that way so that because of what's probably going to happen at Double or Nothing, more than likely. That was last week. This week on Dynamite, because right after that, Brody King was like, "Hey, congratulations, got love for you. I want a shot too." So this week on Dynamite, we got Brody King versus Darby in another banger. And then earlier in the night on this past Dynamite, Darby made it clear that next week, Kevin Knight gets a shot. So it looks like he's basically going the route of, I'm defending this title every week against who I think is worthy and giving everybody a chance, because MJF wouldn't give him a chance. MJF has been begging him for a title shot. And it's actually, all this kind of intertwines. So maybe I should just kind of go in order from how everything has happened as far as that goes. And I'm going to touch all those stories. I don't know. There's a lot to comprehensively cover. So I feel like I should just like do it that way. So on the Dynamite, after Darby wins the title, of course, MJF comes out. Hey, give me my title back, or give me a rematch, or really just give me a title back, or give me a rematch. Darby's just straight up like, no, you're only gonna have to earn it, just like I did and everybody else did. So no. And then we get Ciampa coming out. MJF basically stares him down. Tommaso basically just gives him the kiss of death type thing and then walks off. Of course, they have that banger match. Out comes Brody after the match. Darby wins, of course. Out comes Brody King after the match. He challenges Darby. Hey, I want a shot next week. Darby's like, bet I got you. Elsewhere in the show, Kevin Knight defended his championship. Nope, that's not how that happened. MJF was in the ring again, complaining. This is again the show after. MJF is in the ring, of course, complaining that he got screwed out of his title. He wants his title back. This is before he goes begging the Darby. This is how the begging starts, basically. Hey, give me my title, give me my title, give me my title. Out comes Kevin Knight. Kevin Knight's like, yo, nah, bro, not it. So they get into a back and forth. Kevin Knight basically says, hey, you never held a TNT championship because they're the big names carry the TNT championship. MJF's like, you know what? I beat you already. I'll beat you again and put your title on the line since you made it sound so good. So fast forward. We get MJF, Kevin Knight, TNT championship on the line. Kevin Knight pulls out the victory. MJF attacks Kevin Knight afterwards. Out comes Darby for the save. That leads to MJF saying, hey, give me my title back. Give me a rematch. Give me a rematch. Darby's like, no, you don't deserve it. But you know who does deserve it? Kevin Knight. The next week, Kevin Knight, Darby Allin. Out comes Brody. Brody says, hey, yeah, that's all good and fine and good and everything, but you're not going to be facing Darby next week. You're going to be facing the new World Heavyweight Champion. That's me. Boom. So we get, again, well, actually, no, that happened then. We had another face-off, basically. MJF out in the rampway. Brody's coming down, stares down MJF, and then heads to the ring. So then we get another, like I said, another hell of a match between Brody and Darby. They have really great chemistry. There's such an interesting dynamic. The size difference is always good. And it's always a thing because Darby's so small, they have to work in ways. His recklessness makes up for the lack of size, right? So the way that he will throw himself, the things that he will do to himself in the interest of trying to harm an opponent, I think is how he makes up for the size differential in those matches. So they had a hell of a match. Darby again pulls out the victory. Kevin Knight's there staring down Darby. Kevin Knight has a TNT Championship match, I think, against El Clone, maybe. That may be wrong. That may have been somebody else. I forget who it's against, but he has a TNT Championship match tonight on Collision. That, of course, has nothing to do with whether or not he gets a world championship, but he's going to retain there more than likely as well. And then go on to face Darby. Darby will probably get the pin. Double or Nothing is this month. It is, like I said, it is officially May the 2nd. Double or Nothing is at the end of the month, May 24th. So you got what, like good 1, 2, 3, 3 weeks basically to set your really the rest of the card, but definitely your main event match. And it's one of the marquee events. Double or Nothing is like kind of up there now. Like Revolution has taken a place as like, I guess you said they have a big five. I think the big five now will probably be like Revolution, Double or Nothing, All In, All Out, and Full Gear. I would say are like the big five now. So there's that. So nothing's been said yet. I'm still banking MJF Darby is the match. Not sure how MJF is going to coerce Darby into getting the match, but I do think that is how it's going to happen. Oh, it says right here something about the big five. Look at that. Anyway, so that's the world title picture as it stands right now. Basically, Darby. So when I say how Darby's reign is going, kind of seems like it's heading towards him losing the title at Double or Nothing. The fact that he's having these back-to-back, basically week after week, world title matches in the main event, and they're all bangers, is probably because the reign isn't going to be that long, and it does deserve to be memorable in that way. And there are going to be people who aren't going to like that decision, because I do think that's exactly where we're heading. There are going to be people who don't like that decision, and that's fine, because people don't like a lot of decisions. But it is what it is. So I'm enjoying Darby as champion. I still think the belt looks bigger than him, but he doesn't wear it really. He doesn't really carry. He doesn't like put it over his shoulder or anything. He kind of just carries it. So you don't get the visual of it being larger, basically being bigger than him, which I guess is a good thing. So, and I could have just read the synopsis to know that. Elsewhere, we have, as mentioned before, let's do this one. So, of course, we are continuing the FTR Cage and Cope thing. It is not going to be the triple threat ladder match thing that I thought it would be with the Bucks. We are not even close to going in that direction at all. We are getting, basically, Cope lays out a challenge to FTR for Double or Nothing. He says that he and Christian want one more shot at the tag team titles at Double or Nothing in a New York street fight is what it was going to be. New York Street Fight, and that if they lose, they will retire as a tag team. On the following Collision, that leads FTR. Did they defend the titles that time? I feel like they did. Or did they just have a segment? And why is it not? It doesn't say it. But anyway, so FTR raises the ante. They said, okay, you want a New York Street Fight. Let's take it up a notch and make it an I Quit match. So now it's an. I don't know. I do think they're actively calling it in. Let's see what it's listed in the Wikipedia because I feel like they have everything in there. It's called an I Quit Street Fight. So I guess it's an I Quit New York Street Fight. An I Quit match doesn't have. It's kind of redundant. An I Quit match has all the things of a street fight. So I don't know why we had to name it that, but it's fine. This week on Dynamite, we had, for the first time on Dynamite, we had Cope and Cage teaming up, taking on RPG Vice. Yeah. They've been involved in this story as well. Kind of randomly, just there, but they have been involved. So that's where we're going there. So that is official. That is one of two matches that is now officially signed for Double or Nothing. We got that, and we have the match that I'm looking forward to, and I think everybody's looking forward to. And if you wanted to leave this as your main event, you wouldn't be wrong. It would be Kazuchika Okada versus Takeshita. There haven't been a lot of developments on that front. It just kind of exists. The match is made. Takeshita said he wanted the match. Okada said he wanted the match. Now the match is made, and that's it. It's been building since last year, so it's absolutely fine. That nothing. There's not much more you need to say or do. We've been waiting on the match all this time, and it's going to deliver. It's probably going to get 5 or 6 stars from Dave because how could it not? And that's going to be that on that. So those are the only 2 matches we have officially announced. Like I said, I'm banking on Darby and MJF for the title, but we'll see where that goes. The next, it's very interesting. The next interesting thing we have here is this Will Ospreay situation. Will Ospreay on the week before took on Mark Davis. Of course, this is after Mark Davis attacked him after his match with, who did he go against from the Don Callis family the week before? I draw a blank. But that week, we had Will Ospreay, Mark Davis, which Mark Davis actually won due to ref stoppage, doctor stoppage, really. And stopped the match. Mark Davis hits that pile driver that he hits on the apron, tries to get back. Will Ospreay tries to get back in the ring. The doctor and the referee's like, no, he can't go. Call the match. They called the match. Mark Davis goes to attack Will after the bell. Out come the Death Riders. So the Death Riders take him. They basically kidnap him, carry him back out to the crowd. That's it. So we're wondering, well, what happened to Ospreay? What is this going to be? On Collision, we get basically a segment where they have taken him to the back. He's come to, and you get Mox talking to him, basically saying like, hey, you have all the skills, you have all the talent, the things you can do are like no one else. But it's your mind that needs to work. We need to build your body. We need to build your mind to make you basically the ultimate assassin, the ultimate weapon in AEW. And he gives him the opportunity. He hands him a chair, basically, lays out. He's like, so what's it going to be? Do you want your revenge or do you want to be this ultimate weapon? And Will basically tells Cameron to get out of there because, of course, that means let's see what he's talking about. Fast forward to this week on Dynamite, we get the follow up from that. Basically, it's Will. Let's see if we actually, there we go. We get Will showing up to Jon Moxley's invitation to train. So basically, is that Moxley and the Death Riders are going to train Will in their ways to make him even more efficient, if you will. So Will shows up. Jon Moxley's like, hey, you got to forget everything you know, drop all your baggage. You know, I'm going to see this through to the end. So it ends basically at, he's like, well, where's the ring? And he's like, now we ain't starting there. So they just train this dude in like a hallway somewhere because that's where they like to hang out and shit. So very interesting stories happening here. And I just want to say, for everybody, because there's so many. There's so many. AEW doesn't know how to tell stories. My camera's doing something weird. AEW doesn't know how to tell stories. AEW never tells stories. Get out of here. Get out of here. Because they are actively in the midst several stories. Actually, first of all, that's the crazy thing. There are always stories. It's not even like it's just like a just something that they say because they don't have anything else to say. AEW 100% always tell stories all the time. This is just another one, and it's interesting to see where it's going to go. How does Will Ospreay come out of this? Because the general feeling is that Will be winning the world championship probably at all in London. So, what's the pathway there from here? They're turning him into this assassin. My thought would be, well, no, that's not even how they do that, is it? Because another thing that's kind of odd right now is normally they'd already be doing the Owen, but maybe not. So last year, the finals were at Double or Nothing, and the match was at All In. But the year before, the match was also at All In, but it was All In at the same time. Let's do some research. Because I think All In's a little later this year than it was the year before. So this year is on August 30th, which is, I'm not even sure. I'm not sure what that is. So last year was in July 12th. The year before it was in August. When did Brian? So Brian won the Owen. Looking for the build. I'm looking for the build. So it's at 2020. Sorry, got quiet. I had to edit this out. So 2024, Brian won. Okay, so they did Anarchy in the Arena at Double or Nothing. So this year we're not getting the Anarchy in Arena. Looks like because I don't see anything leading to that necessarily. We're not getting that, and the Owen hadn't started, but the Owen's probably going to start a little later because I think that's what it was before. Um, and I don't think there's a pay-per-view between. Um, but there may be because there's rumor that AEW filed for a new pay-per-view name, perhaps. So if All in London is in August 3rd, the end of August, Forbidden Door is in June, I'm certain, right? June 28th, end of June. If they throw something in July, it'll probably be, maybe that'll be where they will blow off have the finals for the Owen. So maybe Ospreay would win that. He was in the finals. He was in the finals last year. He was in the finals of the C2. I think this would be what they're doing now would be kind of to launch him to win that tournament. I would believe it. Maybe that's where I would go. That's me fantasy booking. So if he's going to win the title at All In, like people are thinking, or at least be in the main event match, I think that would be the way to go. Would be to have him win the Owen, and then get that shot at All In against whoever would be the champion, which would either be MJF or Darby. Would probably be MJF, which we've already done MJF Darby. There's probably big money you could do in Ospreay. I've seen like Dave talking about like Ospreay Omega, but then you have to like insert Omega out of nowhere, basically, which you have a couple months to do. But then like, doesn't even make sense to put the belt back on Max if you're gonna take it right back off of. If you're gonna give him back at Double or Nothing, so it's end of May. He carries it through June, through July, and then end of August with Will. He loses it to Will. I think that's a solid reign. See, the thing is, like him losing the belt now, I do think he wins it back. I absolutely think he wins it back because I don't think Darby is a long-term champion. I never thought he was. Um, Especially not just at the pace of these matches, he definitely wouldn't keep doing that. So it doesn't even make sense to, like, let's say if he's going to be long-term champion and he's going to do that every week, that it just wouldn't even make a lot of sense. So, so short reign, MJF probably wins it back. A lot of people have a problem because it's like, oh, MJF was having a great reign, and now we've thrown it away to put the belt on Darby. That's kind of a small way to think about it because, again, you got to think how things have kind of historically been. We're so used to like Roman having this super long reign, Moxley having the title for, you know, over however long, almost a year or over a year, or however long it was, almost a year, it wasn't a whole year. We're used to, like I said, Roman had the super long reign. CM Punk had the super long reign. We're used to like, now the record is the thing. How many days were you champion? When the reign itself doesn't typically matter sometimes. So sometimes people have these belts for all this time and barely defend it. So I think the point that they're doing with this, again, coming after coming after Mox having such a long reign, the last two champions have not. And Hangman was from All In to like Full Gear. So that's like July to November. Then he lost it to Joe at Full Gear in November, who then lost it to MJF in December. And it was what, April, that MJF lost it to Darby. Darby will probably lose it back to Max. Max will probably lose it to Ospreay. It's not really hot potato. It's just that's typically how championships actually kind of move around, especially when you have a very hot main event scene. So having a little blip of time where he's not the champion for like a month or so, and then winning it back. Consider all of this one reign, essentially. It's two, but consider it one with a blip in the middle. Very similar. Now, doesn't really count the same. Hulk Hogan in WCW, obviously, he completely different situation, but he had such a stranglehold on that title, lost it to Lex Luger for like a weekend. It was like a week, won it back. Stone Cold, one reign, lost it to Kane for like 24 hours, won it back. Sometimes that happens. You have to blip those, like those little blip reigns. So it's kind of that. This is a little longer, but it's the same, I think, concept. So it's perfectly fine. We're used to like these super long, dominant reigns where people don't lose it. Swerve won the belt at Dynasty, lost it at All In. So that's what, like February to August that year. That's a pretty significant reign. What's that? February, March, April, May, June, July, August. It's like a good 6 months. I think that is perfectly fine. Like after having seen these year long reigns, I don't always particularly care for them, especially if you don't have a lot going on for these people, right? So like Roman for that many years, you're like, okay, well, eventually somebody's gonna beat him for it, and you didn't want it to be Edge or Daniel Bryan at the time. You didn't want it to be Brock that year. Could have been Cody that first year. Don't know why it wasn't. And then finally we got 40, right? This to go around that he's the world heavyweight champion. You don't want him to have it forever. My bank, like I said, my banking is you give it. Oba can have it forever. You can do it. You can give it to Oba. Let Oba run wild with it. You know, let Roman's already built, so beating him would be enough. Let his reign kind of run through to the SummerSlam, and then put it on Oba. Let's go work. Um, so I think people who kind of feel a way about it or that. And then other people who feel like, well, Darby, because when Darby loses it, that's going to be a thing. So why did we do that with Darby? Just to have him have it for a month so that he can have it for a month. That's it. And he's doing good work with it. So um, I tied that because I went from the Will Ospreay thing to this, but that's how I think that's going to happen. So this Death Riders Will Ospreay thing, I think, is to build him up to the ultimate assassin, basically. And here's what I think would be a great twist. If Moxley is in the Owen on like the other side of the bracket, and the final we get after all the training is Ospreay and Mox, where Ospreay beats him. That would be a cool twist. That's what I would do. That's what I would do. But who are me? I think that's cool. There's probably something else you can do too, but that's what I can do. Moving on. Joe is back. Samoa Joe is back with the ops, and apparently now Anthony Bowens is in the ops. What happened to Max Caster? Anybody know? Because I don't know. I thought we were doing an acclaim thing. Then we started doing an ops thing. I thought, well, maybe that's how we're going to get back to the acclaim thing. It's like he's going to get rejected by the ops, and then I'll come Max Caster to save or something. I don't know. I thought we were doing that, and apparently we aren't. So go figure. Sheeta's back. Sheeta's very much. She's gonna be a heel. She's a heel now. we're just taking our time. We're just taking our time to pull the trigger. Because she's a heel. Why are you doing so slow? My thing's so slow. What else we get here? What else? What other story do we have? Sheeta and Stat took on Divine Dominion on Dynamite this week. They lost. Some interesting dysfunction between Sheeta and Stat, but they made it work. So we're definitely going to eventually get it looks like a Sheeta Stat feud. Maybe is the way we're going. That's interesting. But glad to see Sheeta back. Chris Jericho. This week was it? Or was it on Collision? I think it was on Collision. On Collision, Chris Jericho teamed up with the Hurt Syndicate, take on the Demand. The Demand won again, and they attacked Chris Jericho again and took him out again. Very interesting thing is happening here because he trademarked because Ricochet made the comment about your new gimmick can be the guy who gets taken out by the Demand every time he's on TV. Chris Jericho trademarked that, and just about every chance that they've gotten, the Demand has beat up Chris Jericho. Very interesting thing, and I kind of figured that once he lost that first match, I kind of figured that may be where we were going. It's some version of that, and so here we are. So what other stories do we have here? Leo Rush is still doing the weird, creepy thing. We're having a bunch of different, like, 6-man, 10-man wild matches of the Rascals, the Death Riders, the Dogs. This time it's going to be like Top Flight, which is a very interesting concept. Rascals and Top Flight is a wild concept team. We've been doing some stuff with Roosh here lately. I'm not sure if we're building him towards something or if it's just a matter of I guess just getting him on. I feel like we're doing something with him eventually, but I'm not sure what. Um, Conglomeration. So in the midst of the Cope Cage uh, RPG Vice match, of course, you had FTR out on commentary and trying to get interfere in the match. Out comes the Conglomeration, the 6-man tags, Orange Cassidy, Roddy Strong, Kyle O'Reilly, come out to even things up. In the aftermath, is it a one-on-one match? I think it's a one-on-one match between like Dax and that's interesting. Is it Dax? Okay, there's a way this is working out. Now I need to find the damn Collision card. What's today? The 26. All right, there we go. There we go. There we go. Because it's a loaded show too. There we go. All right. So it's Kevin Knight versus Hook for the TNT Championship. I mentioned that. We got Jack Perry taking on Mascara Dorado for the National Championship. So it's Orange Cassidy, Roddy, and Kyle O'Reilly are in action. That's what's advertised. We got Death Riders, Mox, Pat, Claudio, and the Dogs, David Finley, Clark Connors taking on the Rascals and Top Flight. That is definitely a win for the Dog Riders. We're gonna call them there. You got Bang Bang Gang, Juice, and Austin Ace taking on the other half, the rest of uh, the Death Riders, Willie Yuta, Daniel Garcia. So is that next match taken out? Okay, so let's look at Dynamite for next week then. W Dynamite 4/05. That's the second. The 6th. Nope. 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 You know why? Because I put the wrong year. It's 2026, not 2025. There we go. Are you anybody got it for me? Anybody got it for me? Nobody got it? Nobody? Anywho, what they're setting up basically is for there to be a match between somebody from the it's a double it's a like a double or nothing match. I think it's Orange Cassidy versus Dax, if I'm not mistaken, is the match. I could be wrong. I think that's the match. And if Orange Cassidy wins, they get a shot at the tag team championships. But if FTR wins or if Dax wins, they get a shot at the 6-man, which you would think would have Stoke, but instead it's going to be FTR and Psycho Killer Tommaso Ciampa. So not really sure which one we're going to. It's probably going to be um it's probably going to be for the 6-man title at some point, and maybe Cope and Christian get involved. So we'll see where that goes. Swerve is back, and Swerve will be taking. I should have did this backwards now because that show going to kind of feel weird. Swerve is back. Swerve is now targeting Bandito. They did one of those short videos basically where we're in the old West Bandito setting basically, and everybody's in the bar is running away, trying to get away. Out comes Swerve, picks up one of the flyers that had the Bandito wanted thing, and sets it on fire and fade to black. So apparently we're doing Swerve versus Bandito in some matches that are going to be crazy. You know, Bandito is gonna do what Bandito do, and you know Swerve's gonna be Swerve. These matches are going to go ham or match, and maybe that's a double or nothing match. And will it be for the ROH championship? Probably not, because on AEW TV we don't really acknowledge that Bandito's the ROH champion until he needs to defend the belt. So, and Swerve has no need for the ROH championship. He's probably gonna beat Bandito, so ain't no point even knowing that. But that match is gonna hit up. So book that. Let's see what else we got here. So I think covering basically all the storylines we got now. We talked about the MJF, Kevin Knight, basically the entire main event, and basically the TNT scene right now. We talked about what the Death Riders are doing. Also on Collision tonight, Willow will be defending the TBS championship against another return, Anna Jay. There was a lot of talk about Anna Jay's contract status. Not sure where that actually is. Whether her current contract is up. I think she came out and said basically, quote unquote, it's not a big deal and it's not whatever. But it is coming up. I'm not even sure what that means, but so her contract's coming up. I guess maybe she's leaving, maybe she's not. She didn't really say. She was kind of vague from what I read. Kind of didn't really say much one way or the other. So that's a win for Willow, I'm certain. Seems her thing now is basically anybody who's returning or showing back up is taking on Willow. It's weird because they kind of disappeared. Like Thunder Rosa showed up. Thunder Rosa hadn't been on TV in a minute. Camille showed back up. Camille hadn't been back on TV in a minute. Who else just returned recently? That was Sheeta, but Sheeta's been on TV since. I think there was somebody else who kind of returned and then like lost star. I'm not sure what that's about. Because how are we not getting Camille back on TV doing something after that? She kind of just showed up and then now she's gone. There's a lot to do. Okay, let's before we get out, let's have a talk about these women's divisions in WWE, AEW, TNA. I can't really speak that much on TNA because I don't watch TNA anymore. I keep up with WWE. I watch AEW. And I read somewhere, there's a lot of debate about who has the best women's division. Is it WWE? I mean, I guess you could take NXT and say that is a different entity. AEW, TNA. it really depends on your preference. Some people prefer WWE, some people prefer, so it's tomato. It's just whatever you like, right? But I would venture that AEW's hasn't always been the best. They've always had the talent. They haven't always done the most with it. It's gotten leaps and bounds better from one period to the next. Their tag team titles feel slightly more relevant than WWE's, if for no other reason, just because the only reason WWE might have an edge right now is because it's on Paige and Brie, and Paige just came back, and they got some of their main event players kind of in there, like Charlotte's in there, but it doesn't have like a direction. Probably should stay on Nash and Nia, not Lash and Nia, but that's that right, Lash and Nia, yeah. So there's that. Um, they have all their main titles. They have all their titles basically on proven commodities right now, more or less. In WWE, because you got Rhea as world champion, Liv Morgan as world champion, um, Becky's Intercontinental champion again. You put the U.S. championship on Tiffany Stratton rather than Julia, because apparently we don't know what to do with Julia, but we're going to do it with Tiffany Stratton instead, I guess. We want to keep Tiffany in that picture, kind of the same way you have Becky as like in women's title. So those titles, here's the thing: Intercontinental title, I think, may be a bigger title than the World Heavyweight or the World title on Raw, or at least they're tit for tat, because Becky holds it. If anybody else held, and AJ was holding it. If it was anybody else, it probably wouldn't be. It was just, I think it was as much a high profile match for Mania as the World Championship was. Can't say the same for the US. So maybe putting it on Tiffany, they think is going to have that effect. So all of their titles are on major players on main roster. In AEW, Tekla's kind of new and proving herself. She has the thing, but we're building somebody, right? Tekla's we're proving that Tekla is, a thing. Somewhat similar thing with Willow. Willow's kind of proven, but she hadn't been a champion or anything yet. So we're building her up to said world championship. Kind of crazy that Tekla is world champion and she has been there for a cup of coffee, and Willow has been there as long as she has. But it made sense, so it's fine. Tag titles on Divine Dominion. That's solid because we needed to do something with Megan Bayne in the meantime, because she's definitely going to be a world champion or a TNT champion at some point herself. So their titles make sense as well. Um, NXT is in rebuild. They have a lot of prospects. They have a lot of people who are, now that Lola Vice is champion, there are a lot of prospects. You still have Jada Parker. You got a lot of people who are like recently debuted. It's a recruiting class. It's developmental. So there's going to be a revolving door at all times. A lot of people just got called up to main roster, namely Fatal Influence out of the women's division and Sol Ruka on Raw. I guess you say you still got Zaria there, Thea Hale. You still have a lot of the names from NXT that have been around for a minute, but they're also still in rebuild mode to kind of build those people, because Fatal Influence has ruled the roost for a while here now, and Sol Ruka was kind of right there nipping at the heels. So, and it really was probably the bigger, having the Soul Snatcher, probably one of the bigger names coming out of NXT. So which one's better? I don't know. Who's being booked better? I don't know. WWE definitely gives them more time, but they have to. But it's the stuff that they're it is the stuff that they are presenting any good. Like now we're getting the EO Oscar match at Backlash, but you got rid of Kairi Sane, so it still kind of makes sense, but the emotional anchor of that feud is kind of gone. So they kind of glossed over it on Raw. Oscar cut this promo basically, or there was a video package where she was talking about how Kyrie couldn't get something done or was embarrassing her or something like that, and that's why she got rid of her. And that's kind of the explain her. They basically wrote her out of the story, which is whack. But it's WWE, and WWE is going to do what WWE does. So which women's division is better? I can't tell. I can't tell you. I can tell you I'm an AEW shield. And I can tell you that as long as Bianca is out, and as long as Naomi is out, and I don't know what Jade is doing, but whatever. As long as that's the case, I'm not giving WWE the nod. Now, those are just my favorites. Naomi was getting ready to do, she was already doing great work, and she was getting ready to do gangbusters, and I can't wait to see her come back and be unhinged again. We don't even know if Bianca is coming back at this point, because that finger is a problem, has been a problem, is and has been a problem. Um, her being able to bend her finger is a thing, and if you can't bend your finger, like it's a lot you probably can't do because it stands to break again. If you can't tuck that finger, it stands to it's waiting to get broken again. So there's a chance she might not come back. She recently she recently was talking about her decision to have a baby, obviously while she was out. And she said it's time for me to be selfish and do me. But a lot of that was also about the struggles of the finger healing. There's a chance she don't come back because she can't bend that finger. That which is wild to fuck your finger up where you can't bend it. That's wild. And as much as I would hate to say, I've seen somebody say this. I'm happy that she has chosen to be selfish for one. She absolutely deserves it. She has had one hell of a career. If it ends, if she decides not to come back, if she's like, okay, I did that, and now I'm gonna go be a mom. As much as we want her back, she has had a career that most women in this business could only dream of, and especially most black women could dream of. She would go down as a legend just off GP, just off GP, just off of being, just off of how long was she on main roster? 3 years, basically 4 years. She basically debuted. It's kind of strange when you're looking at her in time, but she debuted in 20, basically at that Rumble or at that year's. Was that her official debut? I guess. I think she debuted officially she was on Survivor Series, so I guess so. So she debuted in 2020. That would put her last match at like 2025. So less than 5 years, less than 5 full years on the roster, and you have built a career, like I said, that others would dream of. Absolutely, put her in the Hall of Fame. If she wraps it up right here, if that finger never heals, and she wants to be a mom, she's done enough. So much love to Bianca for all the, I always say like I hate they perfect asses because I love Bianca so much. It's absolutely, I love her and Montez. Hopefully Montez, that's a subject for another day. We're not even talking about WWE. I don't know how we got on Bianca, but that's a good sign to wrap it up. That's my cue. So without further ado, thanks for tuning in to the Talmbout Wrestling Podcast. Once again, letting me talk your ear off. I am your host, the Untouchable J.R. Atkins, and this is another one in the book. Again, make sure that you like, you share, you subscribe. Go tell your friends. Hit up all my socials, MDollar69. Do all the things. Tell your friends. If you're listening on Spotify, leave a rating and review. Do all the things. Engage, engage, engage is the key. I have been your host. This has been Talmbout Wrestling. And until next time, we are out. Okay, wrestling fans, this is a first. Because I signed off and everything. I did all the things, and I was getting ready to do the things that I do when it's time to end. And then I checked my phone, and per Fightful, I got breaking news. Is it so? I'm that's nobody. I don't know who he is. NXT guy, I'm assuming, or NIL. Oh no, he's not even a wrestler. He's director of TV production. All right, whatever. Um, breaking news via Fightful: a major act has left WWE. I I am stunned. I have to. I'm looking for it now so I can see if there's anything more to read. Whoa, whoa. The releases are over, but not everything. There are 4 new names that have left WWE. This is insane. Those names are JC Mateo, who was just on SmackDown last week. I guess they wrote him off. Tongaloa, who also was involved in it again. Guess they just wrote him off. And the New Day. Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods have left WWE. The New Day, the so first Biggie retires and New Day leaves WWE. What are they going to do? Where are they going? They got to be AEW fan, right? Are they just done with wrestling? What are they going to? I I'm I'm stunned. I am. I'm I'm not as stunned about Jeff Cobb and Tongaloa. Um, not necessarily. That means the MFTs are. We did a thing with like um Solo and Tala Tonga on SmackDown last night. That he was kind of um basically it was basically those two. I'm assuming because we were selling that Jacob Fatu took out everybody else last week on SmackDown, which means that all we got left is now Tama Tonga, who has already been teasing leaving. So leaving not WWE, but leaving Solo and going solo, basically. No pun intended, I guess. So are we doing what I'm so confused. There's so many different. I mean, New Day wasn't doing anything except for like the Grayson Waller stuff, and that explains probably Grayson Waller was on like challenge Obafemi, but it's strange. Well, not challenge Obafemi, but he had a match against Obafemi on Raw. Um, and I said I might mention that, but maybe no. I think I don't know. I didn't talk about it, but kind of explains maybe why he wasn't doing like a New Day thing. Xavier, he was injured. I think he's back though. There are gonna be statements coming. I, are they going to AEW? What are they going to do? Because they're way too big to not be. What are they going to do? Holy shit! The New Day has left WWE. The New Day has left WWE. Wow. Talk about you talking about wrestling. It's not even exclusive, but breaking news. I've never even had to do that. Now I got to find a breaking news graphic and everything. It's crazy. It's been talking about wrestling. We out.